I applied for the internship, but unfortunately, I didn't get into it. I was rejected.
Uno, dos, tres.
Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining us today here from Sketch to Screen, the making of a show with Nickelodeon artists. We are so excited to have you here today and talk about Nickelodeon's newest hit show, The Casagrandes. My name is Magdiela. I'm the production manager for the show, and today we're going to take a dive into our production process and speak with some of the awesome artists that work on the show and make it come to life. So let me introduce you to this group of talented individuals. First, we have Shane Richardson, our color supervisor, our storyboard artist, Diem Doan, and Angie Duran, our background designer.
Wow, that's all pretty impressive, guys.
Welcome, guys.
Yeah, excited to talk Casa.
So a little bit about our show for those who aren't familiar. The Casagrandes tells the story of 11-year-old Ronnie Ann after she moves into the city with her older brother, Bobby, and her mom, where they now live with their big, loving, multi-generational familia, the Casagrandes. They live over the family-run mercado, which is the gathering place for everyone in the neighborhood. Our fun-filled adventures showcase the culture, humor, and love of growing up in a multi-generational Mexican-American family.
Now that you all know more about the show, this is our behind-the-scene extended main title show open. It showcases both the black and white animatic visuals along with the color animation.
I'm in a big city with my big familia. Every day here is my favorite dia. One big house in our family store. Food and laughter y mucho amor.
Tíos, abuelos, all of my primos. A dog, a parrot, amigos. We're one big family now. Sundays and Mondays, they're all fun days when you're with us.
Casagrandes.
Mucha vida.
Casagrandes.
Bienvenida.
Casagrandes.
Mucha risa.
Casagrandes. All familia. Waking up to the rumbling train, the city sounds that fill my brain. Hitting the street and grabbing my board. It's a big city, so much to explore. Hanging on the block, skating at the park. It's totally fun from dawn till dark. Mercado below me, amiga above. Our Casa Grande is full of love.
Tíos, abuelos, all of my primos. A dog, a parrot, amigos. We're one big family now. Sundays and Mondays, they're all fun days when you're with us.
Casagrandes.
Mucha vida.
Casagrandes.
Bienvenida.
Casagrandes.
Mucha vida.
Casagrandes.
Bienvenida.
Casagrandes.
Mucha risa.
Casagrandes. All familia.
That is so cool. I will not get over how cool our awesome theme song is. Also, let me just remind y'all that this is a Daytime Emmy nominated opening sequence. So super exciting. But bring it back to this. Shane, our color supervisor. So can you tell us a little more about what we just saw and overall, the show look and what inspired it?
The aesthetics of the Casagrandes built off of the Loud House's comic strip look. We wanted to emulate the graphic style of old comic strips and cartoons with elements like our city wipes, our lighting, color, and our design. The art director wanted a more vibrant color palette, so we pulled from Mexican folk art, textiles, pottery, and luchador masks. Our goal was to be honest when representing this rich culture, and so we wanted to showcase that in the world of the Casagrandes through color and design.
And you can see it. I mean, the colors of our show, it's so beautiful, the spirit, and it's beautiful. So Angie, actually you worked on this specific project. Can you tell us a little more about your involvement and a little bit more about, the process?
Yeah, it was really exciting to get to work on the project. It was so much fun. The production team, they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it after they've gone through all the writing and the boarding for it and figuring out what it was going to look like. It then came over to me to then now draw the backgrounds for this title opening. And so production sent me out an email of the list of backgrounds I'd have to do for it. I looked it over, saw what was necessary, and then I also looked through the storyboards that were already done to see what it was that I really needed to draw in the background, whether it be like the background that Ronnie Ann like skateboards through, or just even the simple shots where characters appear. And then after that, I reference the board work, and Diem can tell you a little bit more about what goes into the life of the board artist.
So as board artists, we have the fun job of actually drawing out the script. And our kind of week to week is basically 7 weeks of reading the script to drawing out the episode. And as storyboard artists, we constantly work with production. And for example, week 1, when we get the script, production provides us a lot of online reuses and a physical script, and they constantly check in with us to make sure that our board is on time. And so after the board is finished, production gets it and hands it back to design. And Angie, you can actually explain more about that.
For my job as a background designer, I'm mainly drawing the backgrounds that all the characters play in. So I basically will always reference the storyboard work. So production will always email me a week before I ever start anything. They show me the list of what it is that I need to be doing, how many backgrounds I need to be doing. They give me all the references for storyboards, and also just a breakdown sheet of what it is that I have to be doing that week. And they give me a list of any little details that need to be in this background that characters come into contact with that isn't considered a prop. So from there, I get about 2 weeks to work on it. And I'll start, after referencing the storyboard artist, I go to my art director, I check in with him, see what it is he's thinking that we can do with this, how we can play with this new background. And then in the first week, I draw a bunch of roughs for the backgrounds. And after that, I will clean it up the next week, show it to my director. If he gives it the okay, I let production know that everything is done, and then they send it over to color.
Color. Mr. Shane, can you tell us more about the process with color?
As the color supervisor, I'm in charge of the paint team, which includes 3 background painters and 1 color designer. Each week, it's expected that the paint team creates an average of 32 paintings. The color designer will paint roughly around 50 characters, 65 props, and 20 effects. And each of them has a week to accomplish their assignments. And after they've finished, they'll turn it in. I'll provide any notes to hook up from shot to shot. And then after they've completed their notes, they'll hand it back in, and I'll review everything. And whenever I was brought on as a color supervisor, the art director told me that it's important to make sure that everything looks like it's created by the same hand. So it's my job to make sure that all the paintings hook up. Every wall is the same color. If it takes place in an alley, all the puddles need to hook up, all the garbage cans, the concrete walls. So after the paint team uploads everything for me, I'll assess everything, make sure everything hooks up, and then I'll send everything to the art director. And he'll send back any notes to me. Let's say if the pepperoni slices need to be a different color, I'll update them and I'll send them back to him for approval. Then once we both signed off on all the assets, we will deliver everything to the art director, who will do his pass, and he'll get back to us with any notes, and we'll implement those notes. Whenever he signs off on everything, we will then send it to the supervising producer.
And then our supervisor producer will then approve that. And then it goes into our post-production, which takes about 5 weeks. Our score and music, 2-3 weeks. And we have about 48 crew members in Burbank that are working on Casa. So we're super excited because one episode takes, about 55 weeks to work together. So you really do become a familia when you're working in our studios.
Ah, I get it now! Yeah!
Now that we know a little bit more about the show and the process, we would love to get to know a little bit more about all of you and kind of get a little more personal. As you probably know, a lot of people watching are getting ready to start their job hunting and they have questions about how to break into the industry. There really isn't, a formula, but I kind of want to get to know a little bit more about you guys and your journey and how you broke into the industry. So Angie, let's start with you. Let's get to know you a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, so the way I got within all of this was that I graduated from Art Center College of Design over in Pasadena, and it was around during my final term I started applying to a bunch of internships, and then by some miracle Nickelodeon reached out to me and they offered me an interview for an internship in production, and I went to the interview. It was really great, And I later got a call saying that I didn't get that internship, but they seemed to like the personality I had and liked who I was, that they wanted to still keep me within the internship process. So they bounced me back and they actually found me another internship I could apply for that was happening in the next semester. So I got to work in the animation production side, and I actually got to work closely with the recruitment team, which was really great. And at the same time, I was also on the same floor with the Loud House show. And so while I was there, they had constantly, they create such a wonderful environment of like trying to get you and like interns to communicate with the people on the production. They're very open about having that conversation. So I got to talk with a bunch of people on the Loud House and a bunch of different productions as well. And throughout there, I met a lot of great people who were just very inviting, very kind. Some of the, like, I even got a freelance opportunity from one of the people working on the team who was really kind. And as I was coming to the end of my internship, I had heard in the works of the Casagrandes happening, and I was like really excited to see a more diverse show coming into the process. So I put my name in there. I said, hey, I would love for the chance to take the test when the time comes. And they were so nice. They're like, yeah, definitely. They put my name down, but that wasn't going to be testing out till like November. So I had a whole year to fill in like with other jobs. And so I was just sending out test after test, like applying for these things. I wasn't really getting anywhere. And I had like failed one test that required painting. So I decided I was going to really work on my painting and try to improve on that just in case a job came and I would be prepared. And I actually was posting all these studies I did, and someone asked for me from Titmouse. They reached out to me and they were like, oh, you do these really nice paintings. You want to come paint on our show? And I was like, sure. It was like such a great opportunity. I learned a lot from there. And then in like the midst of working on that show, Nickelodeon finally came back and they were like, hey, we're testing for this show and we want you to test for it. It's a very rare opportunity I had, and I'm so grateful to them for showing me such kindness into getting me for this show, because they really didn't have to do that. But so yeah, and so I took the test, and then from there I waited, seeing if anything came from it, and I got it, and here I am.
You're awesome!
That was my whole journey within like a year's time. It really all varies, but that was how my journey got to where I am today, working on such a great familia.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. I think it's important to say that it wasn't just because you got lucky. I think it's because you worked really hard, your work was really great, and I think that's important to say that maybe you don't get that first opportunity, but you gotta always keep working because you never know who's watching. And I'm glad because you were amazing, and I think that a great asset to our team. Diem, can you talk a little more about how you got involved in animation and in general, but then with our show as well?
So I actually didn't go to an art school, but I went to San Jose State, which had a very strong animation program. And in order to graduate from the program, you had to do an internship. And a friend had highly recommended Nickelodeon because she felt like it was a great community that really mentored you on what you wanted to do. And since San Jose State didn't specialize in TV, it was kind of like a broad range of skills. I was very curious in TV and how that pipeline was. So when I interviewed, I was probably one of the last of my classmates to actually get a call and had to kind of move down to LA in a week. And I actually interned on Harvey Beaks, which is a really awesome crew. And they taught me a lot about production. And I really tried my best to learn more about the production side, how to communicate with the artists. The great thing about the internship is that you can kind of like experiment or learn more about the different roles that are in the studio. So if you wanted to learn more about sound design, you can have people that you can contact and they'll sit down with you and talk to you. And if you want to learn more about character design, you can have like an artist look over your portfolio and give you feedback. So it's a really awesome internship, and you don't really get that at a lot of other studios. And so after my internship, I did my best to do a really good job, and Loud House was hiring for a PA at that time when I was about to end. And so I interviewed, got the position, and did production for about a year and a half. And at that time, I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I majored in illustration, and I figured, you know what, maybe I wanted to do character design, but at that time I was kind of curious about storyboarding too, because my program didn't have a storyboarding class. And so when I kind of learned more about that, I was like, maybe this is kind of like a skill that I kind of want to learn and go into.
And I want to try every new thing I can!
The cool thing about production is you get to learn about what jobs are opening and what jobs are like ending. So when that opportunity opened up, I kind of asked like, hey, can I please test for this position? I'm very interested in staying with the show and learning more about boarding. I got the chance and jumped into revisions, and I took that time to learn more about storyboarding. Luckily, I had a lot of awesome coworkers that had also given me a lot of resources to kind of learn more about that role. And when the time came for a storyboard position opening up, they considered me, and I also tested and got onto Loud House as a board artist. And then after that, when Casa was kind of hiring, I really wanted to work on a more diverse show, diverse stories, and about a diverse family. I asked if I can jump over, and it was an easy transition because the style was very similar. And yeah, and it was been a long 5-year journey after that.
That's awesome. Well, we're very lucky to have you, and I think that your story is so powerful because I think that there is a little bit of a misconception that you have to enter this industry if you are an artist as an artist, and I think that's not the only way. You're a perfect example as coming into a production role and then sort of moving into that artistic role. And I think that's super important because, like you said, production teaches you how to communicate better with artists in production, and that's very, very important. Shane, tell us a little more about your journey, how you came into animation and to our show.
Yes, so like Diem and Angie, I applied for the internship, but unfortunately I didn't get into it. I was rejected. So after being rejected from Nickelodeon, I applied to different internships and apprenticeships, and I landed at a studio in Dallas called Real Effects Creative Studios. I was apprenticing on a browser-based game. So after apprenticing on this game for probably over a year, the studio was ramping up a feature film side. So I went to the art director and I showed him my portfolio, and he gave me a lot of great feedback, and he gave me test props, test BGs to do and bring back to him for like constant critique. So every day I was showing him something new, and every day he was refining me to a place where he would want to bring me onto the show. And after I moved on to the film, which was Freebirds, I moved on to the film Book of Life. I really wanted to dabble in TV. So I looked to see if there were any opportunities at Nickelodeon, and I applied this time with a completely revamped portfolio that at the time I had been updating for the past 5 years. And so I had the opportunity to interview for a show called Shimmer and Shine at Nickelodeon. They liked my work and they brought me on as a color designer. After about 6 months, I transitioned to BG Paint, and I was on that show for about 3 to 4 years. And I moved over to Santiago of the Seas, which is coming soon. And then now I find myself as the color supervisor on Casagrandes. So you don't have to start in animation to have a career in animation. I definitely segued into it. My entire time at Nickelodeon, I can't emphasize enough how great the culture is here. Everyone is so nice and so great to work with. The teams host amazing events like the Mario Kart tournament and the Super Smash Brothers tournaments. I wish I was at my desk so I could show you all of the medals. I'm gonna say first place medals that I had.
Award closet.
One of the great things about Nickelodeon is the ability to tell your own story. So we've had the amazing opportunity to pitch to the development team and have things moved into development. And that's something that I love about this place, is the commitment to the artists and growing the crew and all the in-house teams.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time and for today. So let us know where we can find you guys and we can keep track of your journey.
You can find me at Art of Shane on Instagram.
You can find me on Instagram at dcheesesome.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Phalange.
And you can find me on Instagram, Magdiela Duhamel. And if you'd like to know more about the show, you can follow us on Instagram at Casagrandes, or you can search at Nick Animation to learn more about any job listings or anything working at Nickelodeon. Please follow us on our website, which is nickanimation.com. It's full of great information, including all of our job listings, and even includes some of the great behind the scenes footage with our creators. We look forward to meeting you and talking more with you on our live Q&A.
The best advice I've received is to know the job that you're applying for and to apply with work that's relevant to the job. So if you were to apply to be a background painter, don't have character designs in your portfolio. That just opens up more opportunities to put in more great work. That'll really set you apart from people that have more of a hybrid portfolio.
So the advice I have is more like once you get, say, like an offer, I've just like over through the jobs, it's just kind of like knowing your value and to not undervalue yourself. Be very firm with like what you're worth and try not to take anything less to devalue yourself.
For me, it's always been to be nice wherever you go, because people do remember how you treat them. Always be nice. Animation is a very small industry, so you never know. The person that you might be working with will be your boss the next time. So I think it's super important, especially now where there's so many different like types of people, that we should hear like different types of stories as well, because growing up I didn't see a lot of like Asian Americans, or it's kind of crazy to be able to see like Mr. Chang or Adelaide, who is like half Asian and half white, and kind of hear their stories. So I think it's amazing, and I think it's important to kind of show that.
Knowing that more diverse work is being created and like kids are growing up with it, it just feels inspiring to me as well, and like to a child seeing that, because the same with me, I didn't grow up seeing as many people who are Latino, who are Asian, and so now that we're getting this chance to even have our voices be shared is really great. And at Nickelodeon, they're so great with not even just showcasing diverse shows, but hiring diverse workers, and it just allows for a better environment of like knowing that your peers are someone similar to you, or maybe had the same experiences with, and so you get to go to work and bond of like past things maybe you grew up with and they grew up with too, and you can bond on that, and it's really cool.
I think seeing other cultures represented on the screen, I think it's really important, and it opens up, I think, so many more opportunities for people watching, like especially like animation, where you watch it and you're like, oh, like I can do this. This is a show that it's talking to me, and I want to contribute to this. And people that wouldn't even consider this as a venue see that there are voices telling their stories, and I think that's really important.
I agree. I think that one of the coolest things about our production right now, talking about diversity, is that, at least from my experience, I feel that this is the most diverse crew and cast that I've ever worked with. So it's really cool to not feel like you are a minority. If anything, you are. It's really cool. So that's exciting, and it's super important to keep our stories true. And kind of going back to why our schedule is sort of so big, it's because we want to make sure we tell these stories truly and authentically.
Television, I think, is a different beast than feature. So how things work is it's pretty segmented into different roles. So you have like background paint, like color stylist, storyboard artist, and background design. And so you want to apply with a portfolio that caters to one of those things. And you don't want to have like character design in your background paint portfolio. So you don't have to necessarily match one show in particular, but definitely know your audience and know who you're applying to and what you're applying with. we do see that there is a lot of artistry and a lot of talent in a lot of these portfolios, but we want to know that we could slip you into any point, any part of the production pipeline, and you'd be able to hit the ground running.
Going off of like what is seen in a portfolio for background designing, it's really important. So background designing is mainly the black and white, so it's just the line art. So when you send in a portfolio for that, you want to show off your skills of like how you can lay out a scene and make sure it's like not too cluttered or like with too many details, because for a background designer, you're allowing the characters to play throughout the background. So you want to be able to showcase, like, if this were a background in a show, it's clear that I understand like a character will be in here, so there's not going to be too many things hitting it in. You want to show off that you're very good at your shape language, your design skills of knowing big, medium, small, things not getting too cluttered in one space. It's also good as just a very general thing that you have an understanding of cities, because a lot of TV shows are city-based. So you'll be needing to draw buildings, towns, villages, stuff like that. And it's also good to show a variety of styles.
For storyboarding, it's like the same as what Shane and Angie said. Like, know what show you're applying for. Is it an action comedy? Is it all serious? Like, is it 2D? Is it 3D? Sometimes for me, I'll kind of like look at the showrunner and see what their style is and see like, oh, okay, they're more like SpongeBob style. Like maybe I'll kind of like take that into note, and when I'm doing the test, I'll apply some of those things into it. And so for your portfolio, just show that you can do the job and that you're funny, and that the most important part is like show what your voice and vision is. And from there, if you can show that and they like it, it's a lot easier.
Yes, I think you guys all gave great answers, and I think I would like to add that for those of you starting your careers, don't be afraid of those PA roles. Don't be afraid of applying for a production assistant role. Don't be afraid if you see a PA role in animation, because those are entry level. Especially if you want to be a director, or you want to be storyboard artist. Start applying in positions for PAs in story, in the story department, so you have a chance to kind of see everything.
I think something that I like to tell a lot of people is that, because when you graduate from school, you like spend all this time working on your portfolio, and you come out and you maybe don't get that big chance that you've been like expecting ever since schooling or anything like that. And a lot of the times people think it's because they're not good enough, but I just want people to know like that's not the case. Like I would go back and tell myself like it's not that you're not good enough or anything like that. Your work is great. It's just all about timing really, and kind of knowing the network of just being able to hear the news of like, oh, is something happening? Are they hiring now? How many are they hiring? Have they already hired? So it's stuff like that where it's like all about timing and knowing what productions are going in, and if your style matches the production. It doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, your work's not good enough for the industry. It's just like, is your work in what is currently being developed at the time, and are they looking right now? Give yourself a break, like give yourself time to improve also, and not just beat yourself down and think you're not great. It all comes with the timing of everything.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off what Angie said right there, because getting your dream job out of college, I think that's the exception, not the norm. Usually there's a period of time where you're kind of collecting yourself, you're creating new work, you're making connections, and then things kind of fall into place. Finding a mentor is really great. It might not even be in like an official capacity, where you're like, you're my mentor, and they're like, yes, I am, great. It can just be someone that you show your work to, and they give you honest feedback. And that's really important, to take that feedback, take critique, look at your work critically and honestly, and then apply what you're learning every day. I love it. I enjoy what I do, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
As artists, we draw a lot of inspiration from our life or knowledge of life. And so if you're, I guess, constantly drawing or just in a book, like how are you going to be able to tell those stories? So go out there, live life, go out and sketch, draw people, so that you can, tell your story and tell your vision.
Yes, that's great advice. The last thing I can say for all of you guys is to be good, to be fast, and to be nice, and you'll have a long career in animation. I think this is all the time we have. Thank you guys so much. I hope you learned stuff, and adios.
Yes.
Adios.
You're the greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time.